Welcome to the MTR Sports Report. I'm Bill Zeltman, and we are at Bogey's Tavern. I'm here with Richard Price from thecowboyscorner.com and Ron Sulpizzi from MySteelCurtain.com. Tonight, we're going to take a look at the NFL playoff picture for this weekend. Moving on, last game, Seattle and Chicago. Wait a second. How in the world are we talking about Chicago in the second round of the playoffs, or in Seattle? How in the world is Seattle still? Yeah, and Chicago. How in the world are either of these two teams here? Let's start with Seattle, Rich.
Okay, well, Seattle, obviously the Cinderella team of the 2010-2011 playoffs. When they beat the Saints last week, obviously they were playing with nothing to lose. At home, they were tough. They jacked up. They played loose. They had no expectations that they would even come close to the Saints. They went in there. They did what they had to do. They were physical. They beat the Saints at their own game, basically outscoring them. Question is, can Matt Hasselbeck have a second career game like he did this past week? 4 touchdowns, was basically playing out of his mind. If he can go into the much colder, more difficult confines of Soldier Field and go against a much better defense and have the same kind of results, yeah, he's got a shot. But it's going to be a whole lot tougher this week. You know, I think Cinderella is hearing the clock tick.
What are your thoughts on Hasselbeck, Ron?
Well, before I get to him, the Seahawks are probably the poster child at this point for any given Sunday. You're talking about a team with a losing record, a 7-9 record that made the playoffs and got a home game. Yeah. In the first round of the wild card weekend.
And knocked out the defending Super Bowl champions.
Absolutely. Now that's unheard of. But that just goes to show you any given Sunday.
Unfortunately, not this Sunday.
Well, I would have to agree with you.
No, I don't see it for this Sunday.
I would have to agree with you. But they have the right mindset. They know it's win or go home. They know that. They prepared for that last week. I think what we saw last week, even though it was a home game, I think it was a home game or an away game, I think the outcome would have been the same. Because they were mentally prepared for what was at stake. They knew that people thought they were a joke and didn't deserve to be there. They prepared properly. They were mentally and physically prepared for that game. Now, going into Chicago, it's a little bit of a different story. They may have the right makeup, the right composition, but I think it's a little bit of a more of a hostile environment. And Hasselbeck, he is a veteran QB. He had the game of his life last week. If he can play the same this week as he did last week, you could theoretically see an upset here. But I think they've run their course. I think Chicago pulls this one out.
Okay, so your final answer, it's going to be Chicago. Rich?
I'm not a big fan of Chicago. I think they're a little bit of a fraud. I think they somehow skated through the season. I know their defense wins Super Bowls. That'll keep them in the game. I still have to give them the edge though in this time around. I think the Chicago wins by field goal, maybe a little less at home.
This has been the MTR Sports Report. I'm Bill Zeltman. Thanks to our guests, Richard Price from thecowboyscorner.com and Ron Sulpizzi from MySteelCurtain.com. We'll see you next time.